Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started, so I'd like to call the meeting in order. If everyone can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'd like to welcome everyone. We have a full room here, so we're going to try to move right in so we can get to the special part of tonight. First up is public to be heard, and we do not have any this evening. We do have our good news portion, which Mr. Kessler, you're right up on this. So from John Kennedy, Mr. Kessler, our principal, he would like to do a special thanks to Deb Loftus. She's a great resource for helping teachers have the resources they need for the excellent math instruction that happens at John Kennedy. She is such a hard worker, and we greatly appreciate her. From John Kennedy as well, Jordan Brent, our assistant principal. Our third grade team and reading teachers have been working so hard to ensure that all the needs of our students are met during Foundations time. Thank you all for taking the time to thoroughly come up with a plan and ensure that all means all. We have Mr. Metler, who is our SEL teacher at Batavia Middle School. Mrs. Dunbar is completing projects in her art room that has students talking about how much they enjoy going to her class. She also runs an after-school craft club for teachers, which is an excellent way to reduce stress. From another in-person Mrs. Nataro today, for Jackson principal, Marie Bigsby, our literacy coach, and Anne-Marie Cohidis, our math coach, are valued assets to our school. They provide unique opportunities for staff and students, and they do a fantastic job. So those are just a couple that we wanted to highlight today. For now, a special part of our meeting, we have some early graduations to acknowledge and honor here. Mr. Swin's going to come up.
Come up and say hello to our 4 graduates along with our principal, Ms. West. And we have the diplomas for them along with some special words to share. So I'll let Ms. West read those and then we'll share with them the diplomas.
Alrighty, so welcome everybody. So Jaden Hogan, if you want to come on up. Jaden voluntarily attended summer school last year to get ahead on her credits, worked hard this fall to complete what she needed to graduate early. She's applying to Genesee Community College and has a bright future. Congratulations, Jaden.
Yay. Congratulations, Jaden. Jaden, where's this picture?
Jake, you stand so we can get a quick picture with Ms.
Come over with Ms. West and I, Jaden. Okay, perfect. Who are we looking at?
Me.
All right.
Thank you.
Such a big moment.
Yay.
All right, congratulations.
All right, and our next graduate. Gotcha. That's right, a little smaller, a little different. Elizabeth Jones, if you would come on up. Elizabeth has overcome significant challenges throughout her high school journey. I'm sorry, I got to put my glasses on. I apologize about that. Meeting each one with resilience and grace. Ellie's determination, natural intelligence, and tireless work ethic have carried her to this moment, graduating with a Regents degree and stepping confidently toward college this fall. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
This time, okay.
I think we should be all set.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, next we have Kai Doosan. Kai has worked diligently throughout high school, especially these last few months, in order to graduate early this winter. They are looking forward to beginning their post-secondary journey. Congratulations, Kai.
Congratulations, Kai.
Awesome. And then our last graduate this evening is Kamari Wallace. Kamari has gracefully overcome the obstacles obstacles in her path throughout high school, she has never lost sight of her goal to graduate from BHS, which is why she is here with us today. Kamari, we are so, so proud of you. Here, let's look at your beautiful family so they can see this beautiful face. Kamari has worked so hard.
Girl, we're so proud of you.
Yes. The whole district is behind you. Great job, my love.
Good job.
All right.
Good job. Look at all four graduates up again for one more picture. All four back up, one more forward, one more.
Okay. Come on, you got that smile. Come on in, bring it in, guys. Be so proud. This is such a big moment.
All right, lots of cameras on us here. Look at all the cameras.
Everybody just wait for a second, sorry, thanks. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thanks.
So now,
All right, good job, guys.
congratulations.
We have one in the district that's in this country, and then we have bars. We didn't change Congratulations. Take care, congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
That was the hardest one, I think, right? Okay, you got it, you got it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. When are you gonna make all of them? Congratulations.
He's gonna hold that.
No, if you guys want to over there, if you'd like. You're okay. I like your hands. I'm gonna sit here. Oh, great. Just this here. We can go over there. Today. Hi, Chaz.
Principals are so hungry.
What do you want now?
Wait, Prince,
How you
okay,
doing?
you guys are killing me. Where am I from?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Trying to make sure I got it. There's room here, there's room over there.
All right. We're gonna keep it going. We have Ms. Nataro to give a presentation on Jackson School for us.
Hi,
The
everyone.
floor is yours.
All right. I'll try to condense this, even though I have 27 slides, but I'll make sure that I try to condense it. So, thanks for having us. Thanks for the opportunity to share an update on Jackson. We will highlight our work as it aligns to our strategic plan and to our professional learning communities, and how we support our youngest learners academically, socially, and how, most importantly, how our staff collaborates to meet our building level goals. Does this work? You're gonna have to do it for me. Okay. There's our new school pictures. So again, I'm proud, this is my 7th year as the principal. Krista is in her 3rd year. I've been in the district for 26 years. 26 years. So we work together to make sure that we support our mission and vision that was created collaboratively with our staff and our shared decision-making team, It reflects our inclusive and commitment to a safe learning environment where our kids can develop a great character and start their love for learning at the youngest age possible. So just an overview of our school. We got 6 new students in the last month. We got 2 more today, so actually it's 8, they keep coming. So we have 9 sections of kindergarten, 8 sections of first grade. We have 2 12-on-1 classrooms, and then we have an 8-1-3, and then new for 25-26, we have a 6-1-2 with 6 students, 1 teacher, and 2 teacher aides. So again, our strategic plan, this is something that everyone in the district talks about. It's on every wall in every room. So my presentation is going to be based off our strategic plan and off the 4 questions for professional learning communities.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, she summarized these and they don't look the same. So the slide and the notes aren't the same. So we prioritize student safety and emotional well-being by doing a few different things. We're a team that comes together, and we are able to take our mental health team, our CAPS team, which is our counselors and our principals, and we're able to take our support team as well as all of our community agencies and really create the best environment that's for kids. So we take all of these things and we do what we need to do in order to make it best for them.
I think it's back up. Sorry, we'll switch. So our strategic plan 2 is a collaborative culture. We go based off the 4 questions from professional learning communities. What do we want students to know and be able to do? What do we do if they learned it? How do we respond if they struggle? And what do we do if they're already proficient? So things that we do for professional learning communities, we've identified standards by grade level. We have multiple measures of assessment and data that we collect. We have flexible what I need groupings for students that need extra support. Targeted reteaching in our structured groups for enrichment. And then, like I mentioned before, when I gave Marie and Anne-Marie a shout out, because our coaching support that's embedded right in classrooms. So they go right into classrooms, they support new teachers, veteran teachers, and they help them throughout the process of making sure that we're ensuring that all kids are getting what they need exactly. So professional learning communities, again, it's research-based. All the programs that we use Haggerty, which is phonics. Foundations is decoding phonics and handwriting. Wit and Wisdom is our connecting reading, writing, speaking, and listening for meaning. And then we use math, our math modules with Eureka. And we use an Acadian screener to place students where they need to be during math instruction. Then effective teaching in every classroom. We're in our 3rd year of professional learning communities. We attend the conferences every year. It started 3 years ago when we went to Phoenix, and we were really excited about what this could look like. It's really a system that we use to make sure that everybody's collaborating, and if I had to use a word to describe my school, I would use collaboration. So all the teachers are now sharing all their best strategies. What are they doing to make sure every student gets what they need? What are they doing together collaboratively if the kids don't understand it? How can they get them where they need to be on grade level before they leave kindergarten or 1st grade? So now, fall till now, we meet weekly, so they meet 4 times after school. They meet twice during their plan time to talk about common formative assessments, to talk about how students are doing on those assessments, to adjust their structured groups to make sure that students are getting exactly what they need. We're also in year 2 of doing Math Win, and then we're in year 1 of incorporating ELA into our What I Need groups for students. So PLC question 1, these are the questions that we live by. What do we want students to learn? What does that look like? In the beginning of this process, we looked at all of the priority standards, which is difficult in a primary school because everything that you need in a primary school is priority. There's really nothing that you can not do because they have to learn their letters, sounds, numbers. They have to learn how to write. It's really the beginning part of what happens. So in kindergarten, it's literacy, it's letter sounds. Some examples are math, adding within 20 with number bonds, and for Wit and Wisdom, retelling stories. So we talk about what is essential and what is nice to know. So our teachers really look deep into the curriculum and think, okay, does this show up somewhere else? We've actually worked vertically with second grade to figure out how many math lessons we need to do, what's important, what's something that they absolutely have to know before they move on to the next standard. So that's what we do with, that's how we figure out what we want students to learn and know. Question 2, how will we know if they learn it? So our teachers sit together after school, like I said, every Wednesday, 4 Wednesdays in a row. They look at the common formative assessments, they come up with the questions, they test the students, they look at the data, they look at all the questions, how the kids did on the data. Then what they do is they put them in the what I need groups, and students that are missing certain questions, they'll group them together, and then they'll work together to make sure that everybody understands all the questions on the assessment. They don't move on until everybody has it during math win time. I just gave some examples too. We track every letter sound, every foundations dictation. We have exit tickets with wit and wisdom and oral retell. What's the beginning, what's the middle, what's the end? The PLC team always asks good questions like, what does mastery look like? They'll develop the rubric. They'll say, okay, if they got 2 of these wrong, they can't move on. And they're just collaborating and talking all the time amongst themselves. What does this look like? What do they need? How can we help? They're taking the data, and in the structured groups during the classroom, during the day, they're taking those structured groups and they're looking at data, they're using data, and they're making sure that students get exactly what they need. What will we do if students haven't learned it? So we really are constantly changing and moving and flexibly grouping kids. If we look at their assessments and we look at their results and they're not doing well, it can't just be that we just move on. So we stop, we put them in the small groups. We then can use a tier 3 intervention, which is for academic intervention, where a teacher will pull them out, look at the exact question that they might have missed, reteach it, retest them, making sure that they're adjusting the strategy so students can get what they need. They decide who needs the support and why. What will we try next? What will we reassess? So sometimes when we meet, we don't move on. We stop, we make sure everybody has it, and if they don't have it, we might move into that next tier where they're then pulled out for a tier 3, which is one-on-one. And I'll describe what tier 1, 2, and 3 are in a little bit. Last question. What do we do if these students already know it? Some kids come in ready. Some kids know other letters and sounds when they come in. So instead of just kind of leaving them in the same mix with everybody that might not have it, what we'll do is we won't give them more work. We'll have them do progressions. So progressions, kind of think of a ladder. So if a student starts out coming in knowing their letters and sounds, we might move on to have them blend and tap words. Reading is developmental. So there are students that come in more ready than others. So we make sure that we then challenge them. How do we make it more meaningful? How do we keep them from being bored? How do we keep them from, making sure that they're not just in a group, in a structured group, not getting what they need? So we want to make sure that we're celebrating their growth, and that at this age, it's about the educational piece of it, but it's about loving school too. So we want to make sure that you have a question? Oh, go ahead.
What's student voice and choice? What is that?
Student voice means that you might show them some books that they might want to read. So if you've seen any of my Facebook posts, we do a book tasting for Wit and Wisdom. It's to get the kids excited. So there'll be like a book menu, and they'll show them the module books, and then we'll try to get them excited. They'll have to pick, this book interests me, this one doesn't interest me, I think I'm gonna like this book. So we kind of showcase what they're going to learn and give them a voice in what they might think those books are about. Right now, first grade's reading Green Eggs and Ham. So some of the kids love that book, some of the kids think it's silly. So we just give them, a voice and like giving them choices about, what they wanna learn. So they stay engaged and they stay interested.
I've seen some pretty amazing teacher libraries this year.
Yeah.
So when their students are done, they're able to choose from the library to find books that make sense and things that they get choices with. Because a lot of their day that they don't get choices with. So it's nice to be able to have that.
With our structured programs, so they follow right along with modules, or so that gives them some voice and some choice. So and then the PLC team gets together, celebrate growth. What does that look like? We're working on students tracking their own data and celebrating their goals, and being able to talk about it at home and do a home component too, so parents can help them with their nonsense words or their real words. So this is some of the evidence that we collect. It's pretty extensive. You can click on it. Yeah.
Maybe you click on the board.
Yes. Okay. I wanted to show them where we go.
All right, you do that.
Okay. So this is the structure that we use for all of the grade levels. So when they come to their PLT meeting, everything's on here, all the essential standards that they picked. I'll just give you an example of, in Module 2, our PLT groups would go here. Okay, so they're in their PLT. They already picked their essentials. They already developed, so they'll come in. This would be what an agenda looks like.
That slide was everything made up of that one standard. So it was that standard and then everything associated with it, the assessment, the data, the everything.
So for example, they would come in, they assign roles, the teachers, they talk about what they need to do during this time, what the questions are that they're going to ask, and then they'll give here's the assessment. So this would be the assessment facts of 10 for December. They would have already given the students this post-assessment. They would have already had all the results in the PLT meeting. And then they would have talked about what the data looks like. So this is by class. This is how they did. There's the pre, there's the post. And if all the classrooms didn't get it, they would then stop and move on. So that's just kind of a structure that we have in place for everybody to make sure that they're on task. And before they leave, they set a new agenda. And we do that for kindergarten and first grade. So we do collect a lot of data. Again, this is just the RTI model, response to intervention. Tier 1 is what everybody gets in the classroom. Foundations, Haggerty, Wit and Wisdom. Tier 2, it's guided by common formative assessments, end of unit. Tier 2 could be those small structured groups within the classroom. So picture a whole group math lesson. Tier 2 might be the teacher calls students over to work in a Tier 2 group based on how they did on the assessment. So they might say, okay, Molly, you missed question 2, Krista, you missed question 2, calls them together, reviews what was in question 2 to make sure that they fully understand one-on-one in Tier 2. Reassess them. If they don't get it, now we're at Tier 3, which would be a one-on-one. It could be with the teacher, it could be with a teacher aide, it could be with an academic intervention specialist for math or ELA, but it's usually one-on-one to make sure that the students get what they need. Again, this is all the data that we collect. It's a lot. We want to have a literacy profile by the end of the year. They start out right in pre-K with, the dial. It's for kindergarten screening. They do the DIBELS. They do Acadians math, iReady diagnostic. We do a lot. DESA-Mini, the regional assessments. We progress monitor off of foundations. We do a word knowledge inventory. The middle of the year, we do letter sound checks for kindergarten. We make sure that they leave knowing all of their letters and sounds. Repeat some of the same data from the fall. And hopefully at the end, we have a nice picture of who might need to go to summer school, who might need more intervention moving forward. We use this for class placement going into the next grade level. So there's a lot of ongoing data collection for sure. And then each student leaves with a literacy profile. So it starts in UPK. We started this like 3 or 4 years ago. They come into kindergarten with information that we use for placement. Then we put all of their assessments down all the way through. So when they get handed off to John Kennedy, Paul can pull this up and he can see a student literacy profile for every child that comes through based off their scores.
And then.
So any questions? I feel like I just threw that out. It's a lot. Anybody have any questions about data, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3?
Well, you do have a lot of dial and dibbles and
Yes.
what do they stand for?
So the dial is just the kindergarten ready. So we use that when they come in for screening. We also use the Brigance now. We've kind of moved away from the dial. We're using the Brigance that they get in UPK. It's just school readiness questions. And then the dibbles is just, they're just points that we look and we make sure that they understand where they need to be. What was the other thing you asked? Dials, dibble, Brigance.
DESA, mini?
The DESA mini is part of our social emotional learning curriculum. It just categorizes students that might need more support with play therapy or therapy from a school counselor. DESA mini, that's what that's called.
Collects information about their backgrounds at home and then puts them into a category so that we understand them better and we know what we can give them.
For support, social, emotionally, all well rounded.
MTSS, so multi-tiered systems of support. MTSS is where we come in, where we start to look over things and we start to see kids in the yellow or in the red. Where we're like, okay, we've given you enough time, you've reached a certain time where we're like, okay, you get these supports in your classroom, you're receiving this excellent instruction, what's happening? So teachers are able to look at where do we think they're falling down, collect a small list, and then they come in and they meet with our committee. We meet every B day, all day long on students. So they might be academic students that need more support. They might be social emotional kids who are like, okay, the teacher's like, I feel like they can do this, but for some reason they're not showing up. And we're like, okay, how can we support them with counseling? How can we support them with our check-in, check-out system? How can we support them in different ways? And it's just nice to be able to have everybody in the same room to be able to give them that. So, and everybody has a different perspective. So everybody looks at a kid differently. A teacher looks at a kid differently than a counselor does. They know what they need differently. So that system's been really successful in our building. Not only to build that collaboration, but to help kids get where they need to be and to be able to have everybody in the same room to talk about it.
And this MTSS system comes all the way up right through John Kennedy. The same forms, the same paperwork, the same system to make sure that everybody gets what they need.
Extended day and extended year. So we've been able to run these programs for the past forever. Extended day is an extra hour where students can have with their teacher based on reading or math, and they can get that extra time with them. Extended year is similarly where we're able to catch kids and give them more time because a lot of our students need more time. So being able to give that to them has been a luxury. It's been great to be able to see kids at school, building that community with their friends, but also being able to have more time learning. So that's been really great. Jordan and I ran it together. Where did Jordan go? Ran it together at our building for JK and for Jackson. So we did K5 over the summer together at Jackson. And I think that we took on that project as like, okay, this is a project, but I think we did pretty good. Oh yeah. Mal has been running 21st Century Grand Soar. So that's clubs after school for students to be able to stay. And they're slightly academic, more enrichment, so both those things. So a cooking club. So they're learning how to cook while using math, while working with adults, while working with each other, while enjoying being at school. So again, that component where they're happy to be there and they can associate those things.
So these are just all the committees that we have. We have our SEL committee. Just recently, we came up with the idea to bring the Batavia High School athletes over to spend time with our young ones. So we've done, the soccer team raised money and bought books for all of our students at Jackson. We've had the girls basketball team, the boys basketball team. We had football players come over, and they come over and they sit with the kids. And what I do is every Friday I do a hotspot, we call it a hotspot check. Just talking about like a different character trait, you know, responsibility, and I'll have the high school athletes be on the Google Meet, and they'll meet with the kids, and I'll give them a little script, and they'll talk about what it's like to be on a team, what it's like to be responsible, what does that look like. We celebrated the Bulldogs, we had the Bulldogs come over, And it's been really interesting because the little ones, they think that the older kids are famous. You know, they think that they're like Josh Allen. They think it's really, really cute to see. So
Put a
they'll
jersey
see
on
them,
them, they're famous.
but they'll see them on the big screen in the morning, and then when they come over to sit with them at lunch, they like can't believe that they came over. So it's been a really good collaboration with Jenny just to, you know, our theme this year for our school was a team theme. So they were, you know, the kids are super excited about that. We have our shared decision-making team, which just creates things, a kind of a homeschool connection. I'll just give you a couple examples. We did an ornament that we sent home for families to show us how they celebrate different traditions with holidays, and then we hung them on trees throughout Jackson. I know we're gonna do a strong female for Women's History Month, who's a strong female in their life, and we'll send a project home. We also do some academic things. We'll do like a reading and math challenge bingo board, and students that complete the bingo board bring that back. They have the chance to win a family game night through parent-teacher group. So we're always constantly trying to do that homeschool connection, ensuring that parents know what's going on too, supporting that reading and math. We have some instructional programs. We have Ag in the Classroom, 21st Century Clubs. The students really enjoy those. Parent involvement, Cupid's Corner, which is in February, that's coming up. We just added some things that are up and coming. We did a trunk or treat this year, monthly parent-teacher group meetings. I have an active parent-teacher group. We had a carnival in May that had a crazy amount of people. I think there was about 800 people there.
I was gonna say,
It was like almost our
crept up
whole-
on 800 people.
It was almost our whole school community that was there, so, you know, the
That's
crime,
so good.
it was great, yep. And then we have a lot of fundraisers to support kids, so we do a couple of teacher nights, we do a Little Caesars pizza fundraiser, that pizza truck will come tomorrow for people to pick up their food. We do breakfast with the Easter Bunny, you know, just a bunch of different fundraisers for the kids, an apparel sale, just to try to tie it all in together to build that community of learners. So yes, it's academic and a lot of academic, but there's also time that we do have fun with them too. Here's some examples of our family events. Batavia Police Department always, you know, gives us bike donations. We have dental clinics that come. We go all out for the kids. They love it. Want to just go over some of this stuff?
Yeah,
For
so
behavior.
these are some of our strategies that we use for kids. We have a lot of systems and support for our kids because we find that systems are what help our students the most. So when they can plan on something all the time, so whether it be our day today, or whether it be the specific things that we have for kids. So visual schedules are huge for our kids. And then being able to be proud of the work that they do. So like some kids, like our friend here, he has the token board. So every time he's working, you get to play, you get to work, you get to play, you get to work, you get a token, and then they're proud of those things. So building that, like, when you're working and playing and being here and being a part of our school community, you can be proud of that. Yeah.
Some more pics of the student athletes.
Yeah, some of our fun stuff.
Yeah, that's part of our carnival. Just our staff, we have a pretty close-knit staff. They show up for our events, which I'm proud of. I'm proud of all the work that my teachers do. They work tirelessly and super hard for our kids to make sure they get everything that they need. So there's a student athlete up there. Cute. I mean, I had to plug Mr. Smith.
Oh, my teacher.
Yep. He said, did you work here before? I said, yep, that was my job in high school, and he worked at the library. So I taught him how to run the drive-through. But we were running the drive-through that night, which is a bunch of different, you know, there's the Bulldogs and just everybody, our Bills days and supporting, you know, just trying to get that community connection. Turkey trots right there. Just making sure that we focus on our green choices, red choices. We hear parents talking about red choices and green choices at home, so we know it's kind of stuck through the homeschool connection. And then I do a monthly parent newsletter. I do a weekly wrap for teachers every week, so they know exactly what's going on. I'm going to show you quick. This would be like an example of what I put out for my teachers, so they know. I'm a systems person, so how to put a payroll claim in, any upcoming dates, thanking the players that came, what to do if you're out, you know, and then we give some staff shout outs. just things that are coming up. Kind of, and I do this every week. Every week we add different things to it.
To the left.
Yep. And then, okay, so here, if you, oh, Ches is blocking it right there. Sorry, Ches. Can I move him?
No.
Can I move him or no?
No.
Sorry, Ches. Oh, no, I made it bigger. Okay, sorry, Ches. Okay. Sorry. He's my former student, so I can say that. So this is my staff. We had a PLT celebration over Christmas, everybody working together. We just talked about finding the good things and what we can celebrate. So down in this right corner, these are retired teachers that I had worked with when I started my career back in 2000. I started at Jackson, believe it or not. I was the school counselor at Jackson. So these women contacted me and said, we want to come see all the things that have changed at Jackson. So they showed up, they walked around, they got to see everybody. So Jackson's a special place. So people that have worked there, people that are committed there, people that are invested, they wanted to come back and see everything. So I took that as a compliment that they really wanted to come back and see all their friends and see how much it's changed. And they had a good time, they loved it. So that was something I wanted to share. And then just as a school community, we've all committed at Jackson. We work together with a focus those are our PLTs. We support one another professionally and personally, which I think is really important. We really try to make sure we have that family feeling, and when things don't go well, we're there for each other. Keeping students at the center of every decision. I try to build culture. I try to collaborate every single day where it's the norm. If something's going on, we talk about it. And then honestly, just creating that early love for school. So like I said, it's a balance of students loving school and also having to learn. So we make sure that we create that balance because we really believe that everybody deserves to have the best school experience. So I just want to close with, and I don't know if you've seen this, but this is kind of just a day in the life of a kindergartner.
Allow.
Welcome to Jackson Primary, where we are all one big family. Our kindergartners begin each morning with a warm hello from familiar faces, helping them start the day feeling safe and supported. Inside the classroom, daily routines give our students a sense of structure and comfort. Morning meeting is a time to come together, share thoughts, and set the tone for a positive and productive day. Through engaging stories, hands-on letter work, and group activities, our students begin building the foundation for strong reading and writing skills and developing a sense of wonder and a love for reading. We make learning joyful and developmentally appropriate for each child. Math in kindergarten means exploring patterns, counting, building, and thinking and challenging themselves. Our students learn by doing, by working with their peers, using tools, and solving real-world problems together. Creativity shines at Jackson Primary, whether through art, music, or imaginative play. Children are encouraged to express themselves and explore their ideas in new ways. Kindergarten is also about becoming part of a community. We teach children how to be kind, solve problems peacefully, and build friendships that make school feel like a second home. Movement is a big part of every day. Our kindergartners stay active through recess, physical education, and classroom movement breaks that keep minds and bodies energized. Mealtime is a time to refuel and connect. Children practice independence, learn routines, and enjoy time with friends around the table. Learning centers give students the chance to explore at their own pace, whether it's building with blocks, experimenting with science, or practicing new skills in a small group using technology. As the day wraps up, students reflect on what they have learned, pack up their belongings, and head home proud of all they've accomplished. At Jackson Primary, we nurture the whole child, academically, socially, and emotionally. Welcome to kindergarten. We are excited to have a great year of growing and learning with our Jackson Primary family. So, any questions for me, Beth?
Nice job.
Are you pleased with Parent Square?
Yes, I do like it. I communicate, I can see every single message from every teacher. I don't read them all, but I do get them. But I think it's a good way to communicate. Like just today, there was a bus that was late, just from our 21st century, and I was able to put a quick message out. With School Messenger before, you had to call the number, you had to record yourself, then check it. I like that it's instantaneous like that, especially because you can get it out like that. But I think that my staff was using Dojo for points back in the day, and they've all really transferred over nicely to using Parent Square. So I do like it.
Good.
I'd be honest too if I didn't.
I know you would.
Any other questions for me? I know it was a lot, but. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Carla, do you have the other presentation? I do.
Our next presentation is our community schools project.
So while they get it ready, just in terms of context for the board, you may recall, we launched this concept back in the fall. We wanted to tap into our community schools resources that we have, and we tapped Mrs. Frataro and our assistant principals to kind of come together in each of our schools to tap what the grant can offer us, and to really, as you can see, strengthen our schools and our school connections with our different agencies in town, which Maureen has some very deep ties with. So I'm excited to welcome our assistant principals here and the principals. Thank you. They're going to update you as to what the project entailed. The project began in December, right, Maureen? It lasted mid-November through like the end of, so about 6 weeks of work, and pleased to hear and see what they've offered. So Maureen, whenever you're ready.
Okay, hold on, I just gotta grab my other.
And your team of APs are here as well, so.
There we go. Okay, let me switch gears. So this is just, when I was asked to talk with the middle school and high school, just to help them become more familiar with structures within the community. I was a school counselor for 19 years, so I have connections in the community that run deep, and I know a lot of people in all these different types of agencies. So I was able to contact people that I knew and then get them connected to our EPs. So we talked about PIN, STEP, SPOA, again, there's a lot of acronyms, but just making sure that the mental health partnerships were strong within the community. So I wanted to make sure that I coordinated like the network with everybody to get everybody connected, so. Yeah. Oh, it works, thanks. So why do community partners matter? So Batavia is a small community. I mean, it's, and helping students get what they need. Sometimes parents don't know what's out there. Some people that work in schools don't know what's out there, and it's ever changing. So I was out of the loop for a long time, especially with the older kids, about how to connect them to what. So I called a couple people that I knew, and I got our assistant principals into a meeting with everyone in the county. So that was really interesting, and they're gonna talk about what that was too. So the first thing that we talked about, mainly with middle and high school, was PINs, which is a person in need of supervision. Those are just supports for kids beyond what a parent might be able to control. Some diversion services through court, collaborations with support staff and administrators, and then honestly trying to avoid any legal consequences through early support for PINs. Connecting with PINs, I talked to the assistant principals about attendance data, behavioral data. That's when we participated in a countywide meeting, and honestly, I was overwhelmed at how many partnerships were in that meeting. There was a lot of different school agencies in there, a lot of community agencies during that meeting, and they meet monthly, which we didn't know about. So now we're on the agenda, and now we all can meet monthly if we choose to go for the continuation of support for kids. STEP was formerly known as STAR. That was just an intervention for students with behaviors in middle and high school. I think they go as low as, help me, 3rd grade? Is it 3rd grade?
Yeah, they'll do it one day for
They'll
third
do it
grade.
one day, yeah. We actually arranged a driver. Some of the barriers were that parents don't have transportation. So at least we started with a 1-day STAR program, which there's a 1-day, a 30-day, and a 6-month STEP program. So we arranged a driver to drive kids to a 1-day STAR program, which starts, it's not STAR, it's STEP, which starts at 5:30 in the morning and they go all day. So parents were struggling to get their kids there. They maybe didn't want them there, but the transportation piece is huge. It's hard to get your child there one day, but every single day at 5:30, and it's a component of the program. The next thing we talked about was SPOA, single point of accountability. Really what SPOA is everybody gets together around the table, mental health, Department of Social Services, probation, school community, and they talk about a case for a child. It might be that the child needs a care manager, the child needs respite care on the weekend. Everybody gets together and everybody puts their heads together and they decide what would be best to help students with either behavioral needs, developmental needs, and that those meetings are set up through the county as well for SPOA. Just connections with SPOA, just planning together, working together, you monitor the progress. And I think we all knew what SPOA was, but I think sitting together with everyone in the same room talking about, oh, you offer that, and oh, you offer that. So that was one of the key points that we got out of meeting with the county. Mental health agencies, they talked about we learned some new things about what's out there for educators, what's out there for teachers, what types of clinics are out there for counseling, for supporting parents, supporting kids. They talked about that. The other thing that we got set up was all those agencies that I talked about, mental health, Department of Social Services. They came to faculty meetings for the middle and high school and to John Kennedy, and they presented to the staff about what does it mean if you think that a child needs to be called into CPS for educational neglect? What does that look like if you're a mandated reporter? What forms do you have to fill out? Those are things that the agencies educated all staff about, and we made that connection while we were meeting with the county. So they've hit almost every school for their kind of traveling road show to talk to the schools about what's out there. The systems of support, how do they align attendance, behavior, discipline? All of these things in a school align nicely with all things in the county, but you have to tap into them. And there's so many different programs out there that we just needed to know about. So I think that I'll let them talk, but I definitely connected them with how to coordinate services amongst the schools. So what's the next step? My goal was to get referrals to these agencies to help support kids and families. Where, look to see what's the barrier? Why can't they get there? What can we do to help? How do we improve? Who do we call? What's the number? I have a kid that has this, what do I do? So every school worked on something individual after we met, so I'll have them talk after I finish this. So the other thing I did was I worked with the district social workers. It started out just working with the assistant principals, but then I got in there and I just needed to figure it all out. So I talked to the social workers about what they needed. I worked with them. There were some funds that were donated that got into the foundation. We got those funds. All of the social workers got money to get storage items for their community closets in their respective schools. We got the money from the foundation. They ordered coats, boots, hats for kids. So now they're all set up in their closets. So everybody can get what they need. If kids need something, they can go right through the district social workers and get what they need. So that was a really big, I think, relief for the social workers to be able to actually get what they needed. So we got that done. Okay, so Jordan's up first, and I'll have Jordan talk about what she came up with and what she got out of our partnership.
All right. Hi everyone, I'm Jordan Brandt. I'm the assistant principal at John Kennedy. So for me, I think, what I got out of this looked a little bit different than the middle and the high school because these aren't resources that we're frequently using at John Kennedy, thankfully, with our younger kiddos. So it was really good though still to see what all of these resources are available. And I think the biggest thing for me that I've taken away from it is as we look ahead to our fifth graders moving into our building next year, these are things that we're gonna be looking at more and more frequently. And so it started some good conversations with our CAPS teams, between me and Paul about, what do these resources look like and how can we best plan to support our fifth graders as they transition down, stay with us in the fall, but transitioning fifth grade back to our building. So I was able to develop kind of this continuum of behavior supports and identify the pieces that we have internally. So our CAPS team, super similar to what Krista was talking about, that exists at Jackson, that our counselors and principals meet once a week to discuss those students, mostly behavioral that we're seeing. Our MTSS process, again, very similar to what Krista was speaking about, exists at Jackson, and kind of bringing some of these supports into those conversations at our MTSS meetings beyond just those academics that we had previously been talking about, and kind of delving into how do we use MTSS to support our behavior as well as our students who are struggling with academics. And then our attendance policy, so that's another piece that exists within our CAP structure, and another piece that we already have in place to support these students who might be struggling and might be moving on in the continuum. So then the next part would be SPOA, which Mo was talking about, that single point of access, to kind of get all those services, in one place, all those people are on one table to help that be streamlined a little bit more. Referring students to the STEP program if we need to. We have had one STEP referral since this program started. And the student did a 1 day, and it seems to have worked, and we've seen a decrease in the inappropriate behaviors, so that's great. But it's also nice to know that once they complete the 1 day, the door is open for 30 days if we need it to. And then after that, obviously, our final step would be PINs, which we have not had to use yet at John Kennedy, which I'm thankful for, but knowing that it exists and how to access it has been really beneficial.
And I think too, there's a lot of new administrators, in our unit, so just making sure that everybody understood kind of the continuum. But Jordan did a nice job doing a visual, and they presented this to their staff, because then everybody understands that we sometimes we're working behind the scenes, but when you lay it out for them and say, okay, this has to happen before this, so they can't go into PINs unless they've done a 1 day, or they've, it all builds up upon each other. So it's important that your staff sees that there is the continuum of services. So nice job, Jordan. Thank you. Same thing that Jordan's done.
Oh, I already talked about
That's
that.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Middle school, they want to come up and just chat about, when I met with everybody extensively, I took time out of my building and sat with them, worked with the principals and worked with the assistant principals, and just to talk about what does that look like. So even just having this resource to know who to call and when was something that the middle school decided that they needed to develop. So I'll let them just chat quick about what you came up with.
My name is Christine Cameron. I'm one of the assistant principals at the middle school. So what we recognized at the middle school was that we partner with a lot of community resources. And with that being said, there's such a vast amount of community resources that we partner with, and they were in all different spots. So what we wanted to do was create a live document for our administrators, social workers, and counselors, where this document housed the resource, the name and the contact of who we can talk with, and if there was a link or a website that housed it as well.
And there's 5 pages of them. So they did their research. They started with, write down SPOA, Genesee County Youth Bureau, PINs, like who do you call and why, and then they linked it. So this was a really extensive document that they worked on. Talked about where to go, even for if parents needed outpatient mental health services, like where would they go for that?
Sure. So I'm Mike Langridge, one of the APs at the middle school. And as we talked before at our presentation a few months ago, we have some really strong relationships with some of these folks and some of these groups, especially at DSS. If any of you know folks from DSS, there are actually 2 of them here tonight at that graduation ceremony supporting students. So that's really awesome to see. That has carried over into DSS being in our building more frequently this year than definitely last year and so in the past. So it's really great to have their support. STEP is in our building just about every day, supporting one of our roughly 15 students that are in the program. The leadership over there is really strong and have done an amazing job supporting our students and our staff. And we work with them daily. You know, we have monthly meetings with Genesee County Mental Health and Probation. And as Mo has said, we want to continue to grow those relationships and that same type of meeting and opportunities with more agencies. One of the agencies that's a private agency that we work with is known as Horizons or You Connect Care. Dr. Krein has worked to expand their offerings at our school, and we've talked with Genesee County Mental Health about doing the same thing because the needs are great. I do want to say that we also, in the last month or so, have had both DSS, probation, and the folks that are in charge of SPOA in to have proactive meetings and do case studies and say, here's what we have, here's what we've done in the past, where are we now? Because many times we've done things like call CPS or submit a PINS referral, but we're still seeing the same behaviors. And I think that both inside the school and with things such as raise the age and things like that, you know, we're seeing more of what generally was served in the community put onto the school. So these partnerships are more important than ever. So it was great to you know, work on this, and it's going to be a resource for the for the entire district.
Yep, so they, just a whole system, so if anybody needs anywhere to look, it's there. Oh, go back. Thanks, Mike.
And this is Barney, the middle school therapy dog.
Hey, high school. When I met with them about a system that they wanted to work on, they talked about MTSS. And MTSS shouldn't be as extensive as it is at the elementary level, because if we're giving them what they need all the way up, then at the high school it should be minimal. But sometimes, you know, it does require a multi-tiered system of support. And I'd worked with Mariah and Dan and Jenny just to show them what our MTSS looked like and how to streamline it and create a system within the high school to support them. So I can let them go ahead.
Thanks. Dan Dorr, I'm one of the assistant principals at BHS. And one of the things that you know, Jenny tasked me with early on was to help the high school really strengthen their MTSS approach. And obviously our work with Mo has been critical for that as well. But basically just finding a system that is clean, efficient, and effective, because we don't want to waste people's time. And when you get into an MTSS process, sometimes you feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels, there's not a lot of accountability, and you know, things can fall through the cracks. So it's really important to have a tight system, and we've been working a lot this year on tightening up our systems, connecting with our community, obviously, and our partners out there, so that we can support our kids and staff, but also we want to make sure that this is really a valid process for our staff, that they see value in it, that they see progress being made. So we've been diligent, and we've been slow at rolling this out because we want to make sure that it's really going to be effective. And we've asked a lot of our staff at BHS this year with some things that we're doing. And the last thing we want to do is throw something else at them and then have it fall. So we want to make sure that it's tight and it's efficient and clean. This is just kind of an overview of it. You know, we've been working on, again, tightening up our systems, so a team sign up, an MTSS referral form that will eventually be opened up to all staff, so staff can refer as well, but for right now, we've been working with our counseling staff, our mental health staff to do the referrals, as well as Mariah and myself. We've got an MTSS parent consent form. We've got our meeting doc that tracks all of our meeting minutes, as well as our actual MTSS student tracking document where we can follow up, because we always want to revisit the students that we've referred to make sure that what we put in place is actually working. And if it isn't working, what do we need to adjust to make it work?
And I explained, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just take our forms, switch them over to make them high school friendly, and just everybody can use the same kind of system and same document, just to get it up and running, so. Oh, ready, Mariah?
Yeah, so Mariah Ospina, the other assistant principal in the high school. So with all of this work, and it really truly was invaluable, just seeing, you know, stuff that her experience in the district, the connections. And going through this process, thought it would be valuable, and this is really something for us to be able to show the teachers too, that our admin team, our counselors, we have some kids that we already started through the MTSS process to be able to show what we did, the steps we took, and kind of lay it out, because the last thing we want is it to feel like one more heavy lift for them. That we're looking to support them, the why behind it, and kind of the direction we're going. So this is one of the students that we have been working with. So 24 behavior referrals. So Jordan, we blew through your 5 quickly. Failing 5 classes, because we try to look behavior and academics to see what the need is. Absences, to school regularly, but late very often. So obviously using that data and realizing this is one of our higher needs and really needing to get a plan for the student to show them success, get them help, get them support. So the next slide will kind of show the stuff that we have done for that student. So these are really the steps and interventions taken prior to PINs being filed. So you can see there's a lot of steps there. It's not just like, okay, you have a lot of referrals, we're gonna send you to PINs. And really trying to work with the student, work with the families, figure out, is there another program they need? Is it a different class? Is there something at BCSD that will help support them? And kind of going through that piece. So you can see some of the steps that exhausted, obviously a lot of conversations to start. Class schedule, modifications, trying to get them in some credit recovery stuff, utilizing our win time to get them extra support. Counseling, obviously consequences where they were needed to be. And then we kind of went through, the STEP process. And we have a lot of people from STEP come in often. They're wonderful. And in this situation, it was more of parents on board, but our high school students have a mind of their own sometimes. And, if they're adamant that they're not gonna step foot in the door, then that's kind of a breakdown for us. So again, we tried all those avenues. Going through the MTSS process, we tried to have the student do a behavior point sheet to see in classes, are they doing better, where are they succeeding, is there a relationship with a teacher maybe we can try to, use and utilize and to keep growth happening. And, exhausting all of these, we did end up filing the PINs paperwork. So you can see again, PINs is a process, there's a lot of data to track. Which we actually had them come in, some of the probation officers, to understand what they need, how can we help them, how can we make the process as seamless as possible. They've been great. And again, it's just a lot of back and forth and communication to really try to grow that partnership. And getting it all filed, got it notarized, sent it, the student is in, it's filed, it's been accepted. Intake meeting at this point has been had, and there are some things happening. So now it's just really, to start, keep continuing to monitor and see progress being made and where we can keep working and helping and stepping up. So it's been just helpful, again, to have the resources that Mo was able to provide, trying to get, all the districts, we're all following the same thing, but it just looks a little different at the high school level. We want the kids to be successful, so however we kind of support them and help them get there. Thank you.
So I really enjoyed my time with the principals, the assistant principals, the counselors. The resources are out there, but sometimes you just don't, you have to find them and they don't know who to call. So now we have a really nice systematic way for MTSS. Now we have connections where there's people from the community that came in and presented at faculty meetings. So I really enjoyed my time working with the APs and the principals. And I think that the impact was good. We got some kids what they needed. But most importantly, you now have a resource of where you can go or what you need. And obviously, I'm always here if you need anything. But I really did enjoy my time helping you guys out. So I'm hoping that you found it useful, because I definitely did. And I'm hoping that we can continue just, strengthening our community connections.
Time well spent. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you to our APs and to our principals. Nicely done.
Thank you. Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drive safe, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
How does the kids do?
I kind of want to hear about the construction.
Well, stick around. I mean, it's not as exciting as
I'm on
yours.
14 hours, but not mine anymore. It's not about everybody.
There we go, there we go.
All right, moving right on with our presentations, we have our capital project update. We have campus construction management team here to give a presentation on that.
And we also have CPL, our architectural team as well. So both teams, our campus is our construction manager team, and CPL is our architect, so they work in tandem with the district. So thank you for being here. We look forward to the update. So
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Brian Trott with CPL. This is my colleague Hector. And we're here tonight to present to you, actually I'll let you guys introduce yourself first before I get going.
Allison Thompson, Senior Project Manager with Campus Construction, and then we have...
I'm Cody Spolsky, I'm a project manager with Campus Construction.
Yeah, so we've got a very brief agenda for you tonight. We're gonna go through the project progress to date, the schedule, and then the overall budget for the project. And later on in tonight's meeting, you'll be asked to approve the bids for phase 3, which came in very well. We're gonna review those later on in the presentation, but it's great news. We're in a great spot with the project, so fun night to come and talk about this. And with that,
so for starters, the project progress. So we did present something very similar to you guys a couple months ago. So for phase 1, we're about 95% complete with that. That's the roof scope of work, which we'll talk about. And the phase 1A at the high school as well, that was able to be broken out, which you'll get to see some cool photos of that being completed. Phase 2, construction is in progress over at Robert Morris. Half of the building is taken over by construction. The other half, they are in instruction in there. And then over the February break, we're actually gonna flip-flop over, which will be interesting. And then phase 3, we were able to go out to bid with that and had our bid opening January 14th. And then you guys have a letter of recommendation not only for the low bid contractors for that, but then also for testing services as well that are rendered for the project.
So it's a very exciting time with this capital project now, because we were here about a year ago and we were still talking about all the planning that we're doing for the project, and now we're actually gonna see some progress. We're gonna have some photos, construction photos. We're actually seeing things happening. If you guys have been in the district, you've seen some of the progress and you've seen some of the construction that's going on as part of this capital project. This is the reconfiguration plan that we have in place, where we're shifting students down to ultimately get down to Robert Morris. And this is why Robert Morris has been a driving force in our capital project and the work that we're doing for this capital project. So in reviewing the work that we're doing at Robert Morris, part of the work that we've done, as we discussed, was the roof replacement, which has been done at the A wing. It's a full replacement. Now all the roofs that are there at the building are now pretty much less than 10 years old. So the building is nice and tight in terms of the roofs. And then we were able to move some of the work that was in later phase to the phase 1, which is the playground replacement, and you'll see a photo of this work in another slide. Now, phase 2 work is where we're doing a majority of the work at the building, where we're really giving the building a new identity, if you say, because we're gonna do a new main entry renovation, some gender-neutral bathrooms that we're adding. We're putting a new building sign, not only on the building itself, but also on the lawn area for everyone to see. We're adding, renovating a lot of the classrooms. Some of them will have toilet rooms, brand new toilet rooms in there. And then some of the work that you'll see repetitive as part of all the schools, all the buildings, is what we're calling a phase 2A work, which is a lot of the fire alarm, the PA, and the blue light, and the IT infrastructure. You'll see that in some of the other schools.
So here's the fun part of seeing photos. Some of you, I think, were actually a part of the community build for the playground, or maybe you've driven by and seen it. But a lot has happened. All the fencing is up, which is great. So it has, you know, as you can see there, the gate that is required for the pre-K or the Little Tykes for to play on that. So everything is ready to go for when the weather wants to stop snowing out there, to play out there. So that is completed, which was part of the phase one, and then as Hector was saying, the roof replacements, so not that you really see anything from the ground, but if you were up there, the roof was able to get completed, which is the wing right by where the playground is located. It had the big stone ballast that was up there, so we got it up to code into weather-tight conditions for that. So all of that's completed in that phase one portion of the project.
That's actually not snow, right?
Yes,
That's a white
no,
roof.
it's supposed to be
That's a
white
white
on
roof.
purpose. I wouldn't go up there now, you'd probably slip and fall, but.
And we're gonna show you some of the floor plans that we've been showing you in the past, but also part of showing you these tonight is to show you the sequencing that we're doing. Obviously, the level of work we're doing at this building is a lot, so in working with campus and the district, we had to figure out a way to be the least disruptive to the facility. So what we did is we did 2 sequences in terms of the construction. It's basically almost like a half and half what we're doing. And so phase one, sequence one, which is what we're currently under, involves the renovation of the cafeteria and so many adjacent spaces in the lower level. The cafeteria is getting expanded, it's getting fully renovated, only finishes. It's gonna be a really nice space when this is all completed in February. And then when you get up to the first level, or the entry, the way that the sequencing works is that we're basically taking half of the sequence, which is the C wing and the B wing, and we're doing this work as we speak right now. This is close to the district, and then currently the staff is on this side. And then come February, when we turn this space over to the district, then we're gonna flip-flop, and we're gonna start working on the A wing and the gym renovations.
Yes, which as Hector said, it's all slated to happen over February break. We've been working extensively with our OACM team or district staff to get staff members on board, to pack things up ahead of time, to move things over, to come and unpack all of their stuff as well. So everything should be up and running for when kids come back after that February break.
Yeah, we're really excited about just the new identity that the building's gonna have. When people come in here, it's gonna look like a brand new space, and it's gonna be really great. On the second floor, there's really not much going on. We do have some chases that we're having to build in some of the spaces in order to get us to the roof for the new rooftop units.
And then here are just some cool photos of the renovations that are taking place. So we have stuff that's going on in the cafeteria that's down in that basement space. The renovations to create a different layout for the main office and entry for that. And then some classroom renovations and renovations to the OT area. So all of these is really in that first wing that Hector mentioned. And then from there, we're just working on finishes. So a lot is painting that has already happened. In a lot of these spaces, flooring is gonna start getting installed, tile work in the bathrooms, ceiling work that's gonna happen, so that way it's essentially ready to go for that February timeframe for all the teachers to move over there and kind of occupy their spaces, so then we can then take over where they're at now.
So some of the work that's happening at some of the other buildings as well, we had a review over this now. So at John Kennedy, also as part of phase one, we are doing roof replacement there, and we were able to do some replacement of some of the roof access ladders that are up there as well, and that work has been completed. For the phase two, as you see, we got some of the same, the 2A work, which is a fire alarm, PA, blue light, and infrastructure. And then as part of the phase three work, we're doing some exterior renovation work at the school.
So really the only work that's been completed for John Kennedy is in that phase one, as we said, which is roofs, which are white. So there was an extensive roof project there.
And then moving over to Jackson School, we're doing phase two work, which hasn't started yet. Again, some of the same fire alarm, PA, blue light, IT infrastructure that you've seen as part of the project. But we're also doing some work in the back, replacing a retaining wall that's failing, and we're doing some pavement work and adding some lighting to the building for the bus loop. And then we get over to the middle school. So the middle school for phase two, again, fire alarm, blue light, IT infrastructure, that's part of the phase two. But some of the things we're doing there that are exciting is we're basically doing all the corridors in the original building are getting new floor finishes and new ceilings. And then we're adding gender neutral restrooms at various floors on either side of the, I guess you want to call it the O. So that'll be exciting as part of the new work. And part of phase three, we're doing parking lot improvements and some exterior work, which we'll get to right now. So part of, when we started this planning process, one of the things we know we needed was that we needed to, the parking lot needed to be repaired, it needed to be renovated. So when we started to look at this, we thought at the very least, we gotta just repave it, right? And then when we started to look at how we can do the work, we also realized that there's an opportunity for us to have better traffic flow for the buses, for the parent drop-off. And so one of the things we looked at is this as an alternate during our bidding process. And the bids came in very, very positive for us, that we were able to select this as the new layout for the middle school, which it's gonna be exciting because it's gonna just help the traffic flow at the building in the best way possible. So where the parents are gonna come in from Washington Avenue, you're gonna be able to drop off the students and then just loop back around. And the buses will come in through Walker Place in the back, and then we'll drop off the students. And then there's no, the parents nor the buses will be in the same, in the same parking lot at the same time.
How will that affect faculty and staff parking?
The faculty and staff parking is still over here.
Okay.
Yeah. We did this layout without losing parking count.
Okay.
Yeah, and even so during the design process, we brought in your bus company as well, and even a couple of drivers to give their experience of what works and doesn't work over there too, and making sure that it was going to work for them as well. If we were gonna put all this time and effort and money into it, that it was actually going to function for you guys.
Any other questions on this? So now moving over to the Batavia High School. Again, we have some roofs at the Batavia High School. They're at 95% completed. So they'll be done as soon as the spring comes along, we get a little nicer weather. Regarding the Phase 1A work, when we did this project, we were able to basically, if you want to call it, squeeze in another project. We had some cross space column repairs that we wanted to do as part of Phase 3, but we felt the need to address them sooner than later. So we created a Phase 1A project to get that done sooner than later. So we were able to get that done, and that's work has been completed. Working with the district, when we started to talk about this 1A project, it was brought to our attention that the main doors at the high school, doors 1, the storefront needed to be replaced. There were some issues with the doors. So we were able to add that as part of the project and include that as part of the 1A. That work is about 95% complete, and it's got all new doors and new storefront system that's going on there. As part of the Phase 2, again, some of the Phase 2A work, the light, the fire alarm system, the blue light, the IT infrastructure. And where it gets exciting at the high school is when we start to talk about Phase 3, because looking at a synthetic turf field, we're doing some auditorium renovations, and we're also adding some gender-neutral restrooms at the high school.
Yes, so as Hector said, Phase 1, roofs. It's not super exciting, but they are definitely needed. Yeah. No, but they are needed and need to be completed. There is a little bit of an area that they didn't get to. Everything is weather tight and weather safe for now, though. If there are any leaks, the roofing contractor comes out and fixes anything, and they're are required to change any ceiling tiles that get wet or whatnot. But as soon as the weather breaks in the springtime, they'll come back and just finish the top coat of the roof. And then we'll get them closed off for the project for Phase 1, which is right on time as far as the money situation goes for Andy, which is great for you guys as the district too. The Phase 1A, as Hector said, so the crawl space column repairs were definitely needed. Again, always going to be in the project, just looked a lot worse when they started to do their investigative work for design. So all of that work has already taken place and is completed, which is great. And then the main entry storefront replacement at that main entrance. This is an older photo because you can see the plywood that's around it. We were just waiting for the glazing or the glass to come in for that, which that work has been completed. And then we're just working with the district to get card access to all those doors for security purposes. But everything is good and ready to go for there. There's also inside the vestibule that's there, there's a new walk-off mat that's in there as well. That's more a better safety and cleaning aspect for that too.
And this is probably one of the more exciting parts that I like about the high school and the work we're doing here is this is the original base design that we had for the project, which is we were adding turf fields to add a baseball and a softball field. And then you can see here the lighter green is where the turf is, and then the rest was grass. As we were having all these meetings and conversations, one of the things that we came up was, what if we can fill the space in between and try to see if we can do this in turf? And so we started to have these conversations about how do we work with the project, how do we work as a team to figure out how to find the money to make this work? And believe it or not, we were able to work together and come up with a plan and have favorable bids for phase 1 and the way phase 2 came about and how phase 3, which you'll see later, how the bids came in favorably, that we were able to do this sports field where we were able to infill between the two, softball and baseball, so that we can put a soccer field in between. And not only that, we were also able to add another area of what we're calling a practice area of turf. So this is what is in the phase 3 bids that you'll be talking about later on. And we're very excited that we're able to make this happen, and this will be great for the community once it's all completed.
Yeah, this was the right design from the beginning. We just didn't think we had the budget for it. And luckily, campus did a great job with the estimates. The bids came in great, so yeah, success story. We get it.
And then last but not least, there is some improvements as part of phase 2 at the Richmond Library. We're replacing the front doors. We're adding some new study rooms and some new open office space downstairs, and then various minor exterior improvements to the front of the building.
So as far as the project schedule goes, I know we talked about phase 1 already, and hopefully again just looking to close that out in the spring of 26, or at least by June, for final cost reports for aidability reasons. Phase 2 is trucking along, again, just at Robert Morris for right now, but we need to actually be complete with Robert Morris by the end of the school year, so June of 26, so that way everyone can do the grade shifts and move everyone around for all of that to work. And then that's when phase 2, we really enter the middle school and kind of take over during the summertime to do all of the work we have to through the school year, and then through next summer as well. Not only with the middle school for phase 2, but the parking lot replacements that are happening in phase 3 that we showed is not this coming summer, but the second summer as well. So we're targeting right on track for phase 2 to also do final cost reports at the end of the calendar year of 2027. Phase 3, we're hopeful for you guys to approve our letter of recommendation. From there, we'll be able to start in March, if not maybe February, out here with the fields. We have a very eager site contractor that wants to get going with everything. And just begin the site work that's here. The schedule shows them starting at this and kind of just focusing site work wise at the multi-purpose sports fields. We worked with the athletic director and department as far as displacing baseball and softball so we can get going here in hopes to turn over the field for soccer, or at least in early September. For you guys to occupy that space. Site work will take a break over the winter time and then go over to the middle school the second summer, just focus on that parking lot reconstruction work. So we didn't want to overwhelm them too much with doing 2 major projects in one summer. So then the other parts with phase 3 is also just scheduled to close out at the end calendar year of 2027, which we're right on track with that as well. So then when we get down to the numbers, phase 1-1A is coming in right at $4.9 million, which that includes all the incidental costs. So, you know, our fees and whatnots and construction contingency. Phase 2 and 2A is coming in right at $21 million. Again, all the incidental costs included in that, and any construction contingency that we need to use for that. This is where it got great, where phase 3, our bids came in favorably, and including incidentals and construction contingency as well. We're at that $14.9 million. So when you add all those up, it does not actually equal the total project budget of 45. We have the unallocated at the 3.7 million. So right now that's kind of leftover funds, just not allocated to one of the phases that is listed there. So you guys can maybe choose to do another phase with that money, or as we get into more construction of phase 2 and 2A and phase 3 as well. If we get into something, there's unforeseen conditions that we have, we can obviously take from that money to help spend it, but we already have construction contingency built into the phase 2 and the phase 3. So you're well covered for unforeseens or maybe district requests or wants for that as we are moving into construction. But right now, you're just projected to be $3.7 million under budget right now.
And the biggest risks are the site work, as we start moving the earth out here and getting to the middle school parking lot and bus loop and everything. We don't know what we're gonna find under the surface. So that's our biggest unknown. Once we get into those areas and get the demolition done, get the earth out, then we pretty much can have a good handle on the contingency. Yeah.
So I assume because you're in all of the buildings and doing all of this renovation and whatever, that there may be other situations
Mm-hmm.
that weren't actually addressed in this total project, even though there's this unallocated funds.
Yes.
Are you making recommendations so that if there's a building that needs additional,
We want to do the project right,
Uh-huh.
right? So yeah, if there's something else that maybe we should add or look at, of course, we'll vet that through the leadership group and make sure we do it right. So we don't want to, the last thing we want to do is to leave some small piece behind that we could address for the next project if we can do it now and afford it.
Okay,
So yeah, realistic, requests like that.
okay.
You got a great leadership team, they're gonna vet those requests and, yeah.
We also have a building condition survey that was done several years ago that within that survey, there's different priorities. So when this project was put together, there's priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. As we go through and look at those different priorities, we can upgrade some of the 3s to a 2 or 2 to 1, after we get through some of the site work as well. So, a lot of that is not really like a shot in the dark, it's looking at what our architects have already identified as a need.
I see.
And we have prioritized based with the budget and scope.
Okay.
Right.
We always run into unforeseen field conditions, that's the
Sure.
one thing we always talk about. We don't know what's in walls or floors, and when we open them up, we find something, we're getting calls from Cody, and we're having conversations all the time where we find something, and we look at it as, okay, we found something that, we weren't sure it was gonna be there, how would we know we don't have x-ray vision? However, now it's an opportunity for us to, how do we make this right, and how do we do this as best as possible with our budget? So we have great conversations to make sure we do the right thing, moving forward.
Okay.
Okay, great job, thank you both.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Keep going.
All
right.
All right.
Break it all.
Good luck, you too.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Last one here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, have a great night, thank you.
All right. Last but not least, we have Mr. Lay. He's going to come up and give us our 2026-2027 budget overview. Preliminary budget.
Preliminary, yes, yeah, so, thank you for the cue up, because that's great. So it is preliminary, so right now, this is like the first draft of the budget. We're gonna focus on several areas of the budget, but again, those areas are subject to change as we develop through the budget process. So again, this is an early on draft, we call it draft number 1. Within board docs, you'll see a more detailed budget summary that shows by function, by object, what the first draft of the budget is. But this is just an overview. Certainly there's more detailed information on the sheet that I provided you. But again, we're chunking up the budget into several different chunks so we can kind of focus on certain areas, talk about maybe changes from year to year. With the main talking point, really for this presentation being on revenue. So I'll spend some time on revenue because we do have our first stab at what we call the state aid runs for the 26-27 school year. It's called the executive budget. It was released mid-January. And it's one of our largest categories of revenue. So we're going to look at the budget calendar for next year, or for this year, for next year's budget. We're going to look at estimated revenue, talk a little bit about the maximum allowable tax levy calculation, which is called the tax cap calculation. It is quite long calculation, but I'll walk you through in general what that is and how that's impacting next year's budget. We'll look at appropriations for next year, which are, as the expenditure side of the budget. We'll look at central office, operations, transportation, and debt service. And then we have a current overall draft summary, which ties to the sheet that you have in your board docs, and then certainly answer any questions you may have as we go through. So this is our budget calendar. Today we're going to overview again operations, debts, transportation, and revenue. Our next presentation on the 23rd, we're going to look at special education, instruction, BCSD programs, and benefits. And again, throughout all of these presentations, there might be some changes to the budget and appropriations as things come up, as more information is provided. But again, this is kind of a working document. On the 9th, we'll hopefully have a final draft budget that I can present to the Board of Education. On the 23rd, again, we'll have an opportunity to continue to review that final draft just to see if there's any changes either to the expenditure or revenue side. On April 20th, the board will review and adopt the budget at that point. That kind of kicks off the start of the overall budget vote process. Once the budget is adopted, a budget document is made available on the 4th. There's a presentation of the budget in the form of a budget hearing on May 11th, and then finally the culmination of budget season, the May vote, which is the 19th this year. And any other propositions that'll be on the referendum or on the ballot. So let's look at revenue. On the revenue side, actually I'm going to move Chez a little bit. Sorry, Chez. Just got to move your window a little bit so you can see all the figures. We'll go up here. How's that? There we go. There we go. In looking at estimated revenue, obviously the largest form of revenue that the district receives on an annual basis is state aid. At this point, based on the executive budget that was released in January, we're looking at an increase of about 8.2%, $2.9 million in state aid. A portion of that is foundation aid, right around between $800,000 and $900,000. That's the general operating aid, foundation aid, based on a long formula that calculates how much general operating revenue the district receives in the form of state aid. The other forms of revenue in state aid are expenditure driven. So, for example, building aid is based on approved debt service and debt that we've incurred for capital projects over history and currently. Transportation aid is based on transportation costs from the prior year. BCSD is based on the BCSD expenses from the prior year, so et cetera. Those are expenditure driven aids. So the larger portion of the increase is mainly due to anticipated additional building aid as a result of us incurring debt for the current capital project. And then some additional transportation aid as well. Just transportation costs have increased as a result of our new contracts. We've had 2 new contracts, one for special education transportation and one for regular home to school transportation. Over the past 2 years, that has increased transportation costs as our rates have increased. So again, on the flip side, we'll have additional revenue as a result of increasing those transportation costs. The district receives about 90% of all of our expenses in transportation back in state aid and following year. Real property taxes, we'll dive deeper into this in a future slide, but again, this is our tax levy. For the purposes of this presentation and for the purposes of the first draft, I went with the maximum allowable tax levy cap, which calculated for the 26-27 school year to be about a 3.19% increase. Now we can certainly go down from there. That's the absolute cap. If we exceed that cap, that's when we're required to have a supermajority in order for us to pass that. So, certainly we would like to ideally stay within the cap if we don't need to exceed it. Appropriated fund balance and reserves. Again, this is pretty stable. In accordance with the district's long-range financial plan, we set an amount of appropriated fund balance to be about $2.5 million. That's the amount of funds that we use in fund balance to support any operating loss of revenue in the following year. So we fill that gap with $2.5 million. So that remains unchanged. The increase is simply a result of the district appropriating a little bit more to cover our overall anticipated ERS costs, which we use out of a reserve. So appropriated fund balance and reserves, that's minor amount of increases just as a result of our anticipated cost for ERS, employer contributions, increasing for next year. And then other revenue, these are fees, pilots, payments in lieu of taxes, sale of scrap, refund of prior year expenses. So these are all of these smaller, minor ancillary revenues. They add up to about $3.2 million for 26-27. And it's a decrease of almost $350,000. The main driver of that decrease is the district had several pilots drop off. So in prior years, we have been receiving payments in lieu of taxes for several agreements that we had with Economic Development Corporation and companies, and those have since fallen off, so those amounts reduce. Those companies go back on the tax roll, and then they pay their fair share of taxes. So overall, we're looking at an increase of about 5.18% in revenue, which equates a little over $3.2 million year to year. There we go. So this slide shows estimated revenue, budget to budget, and in the form of state aid. So again, these are our state aid broken up into major categories. The top one, which you can't read right now, but it's foundation aid. So that's our general operating aid. That's the largest portion of state aid that we receive. Again, I said between $800,000 and $900,000. It's right now estimated to be $759,000 increase in year to year. It's about a 2.9% increase.
Do you expect that to change?
It could change. I expect it to change. I don't know which way, either up or down.
My read on it, at least from talking to our lawmakers, if it does change, it won't be significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it'll go down, but if it does go up, it won't be significant.
Again, it's a legislative process as they go through the state's budget development process. So I'm hopeful that it remains unchanged and remains at least what the executive budget proposed.
Keep in mind, last year, I think the state budget was late by several weeks, right? Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Hopefully it gets passed on time. April 1st is the deadline for the state budget. The second category right below it is building aid. As you can see, I did mention earlier that we anticipated an increase in building aid. That's just, again, as a result of the district filing final cost reports and starting to receive additional aid for either current or past projects. Transportation aid, again, as I mentioned, an increase about $190,000. Again, that's as a result of us incurring additional costs for transportation. We settled those, we awarded those two additional contracts, or those two contracts, renewed contracts, and our overall transportation costs have increased. Public-private access cost aid, these are for students that are attending private or public placements outside of the district. So students attending Mary Carriola or the Falk School, the district receives a portion of the tuition that we pay to those schools. We receive that back in excess public high cost or private excess cost aid. Again, we're seeing an uptick of that. A lot of that is just a result of the district having a few more of those placements than we have in the past. So that's natural that we're going to begin to receive additional aid. Our share of Medicaid payments, I guess this is the deduct that our state requires us to have for filing for Medicaid. So this is our portion, our costs of Medicaid, and that's again flat at a deduct of $100,000. And then finally, our categorical aids, which are textbook, hardware, software, and library. These again are expenditure driven, but based on a per pupil allocation. So for example, each student the district can receive up to $58.25 in state aid for every textbook that we purchase, or for every student that we have. So multiply the number of students by $58.25, and that's our total amount of textbook aid that we can get on any given year. So those are our categorical aids. Again, a minor adjustment to that. A lot of that is basically driven by enrollment. As our enrollment fluctuates or may decrease a little bit, we might be anticipated to receive a little bit less. BCSD aid, again, expenditure-driven aid. This is any of our BCSD service that we have, a lot of our technology services, a lot of our technology itinerant staff that we have, So again, as that fluctuates year to year, we do anticipate, and it was based on the executive budget, that we'll receive some additional BOCES aid, again, just based off of what our initial signing up for services for the following year. High tax aid, this is just an amount that is allocated to certain districts. Batavia does receive it. I have not in other districts, so which is nice, but this amount has never changed from the history that I can tell for years and years and years. So still anticipate receiving $729,993 for that. This is interesting. It's a slide that shows, so it compares not budget to budget, which is what we just saw. It compares enacted to budget. So what we actually are getting for the 25-26 school year to what we're budgeting on receiving for the 26-27. Because that number is different, right? We're budgeting a certain amount. How much we actually get could be different than we're budgeting. So this kind of shows that difference. So in 25-26, we budgeted $26,015,050 for foundation aid, and or that was the enacted, and we're increasing it for the 26-27 school year to $26.9 million. Again, that's a 3.4% increase, which means that when we budgeted last year for foundation aid, it didn't come in as much as we anticipated, which is fine. That does fluctuate when that final formula is solidified. Same with building aid. We were under budgeted last year. Again, that's just, we received that number from our municipal advisors, and it all is dependent on when we file final cost reports and when we start to receive aid on some of those projects. So again, that is an estimate in the prior year as well. Transportation aid, again, when you compare actual enacted to budgeted, it's about a 4.2% increase, or about $78,900. And then excess cost aid, again, when we compare enacted to budgeted, if you recall, when we go back to budgeted, we only anticipated $875,000 in excess cost aid. But when our actual state aid runs came through, it was about $1.2 million. So again, that's unanticipated revenue, but as you can see, I don't know if we're gonna get that full amount this year, which is why we're budgeting $981,000. No change in Medicaid, very little change in categorical aids. This is just based on our total amount that we actually spent for the categorical aids. And then BOCES, again, we're looking at a significant increase in BOCES when you compare enacted to budgeted. It's just a chart really to see how, we compare to budgeting our prior year's state aid amounts to the enacted amounts that we're actually going to get. I'm sorry, I'm just going to move you a little bit here again. Chaz, I'm sorry, move it around. There we go. So the governor releases like a little narrative about the budget that she's proposing for the state, and these are just some highlighting points. The budget includes some additional funding for our UPK program, which we did see on the state aid runs. It's showing an overall 4.3% increase in total school aid, but again, that's across the board, across all districts. Certainly our district isn't anticipating receiving a 4.3%. The executive budget provided a $779 million or 3% increase in foundation aid. We did not see a 3%, it was less, it was about 2.8% in total increase in foundation aid. But again, overall, they appropriated an additional $779 million. Finally, the executive budget does fund the statutory formulas for all the expenditure-driven aids. This has been on the docket a couple times in previous years where they said they may cap expenditure-driven aids, but this budget includes, like, we're gonna fully fund all the expenditure-driven aids that the districts receive. And then finally, a continuation of universal free school meals. So I know there's a lot of, this is small print, but this is the maximum allowable tax levy calculation. I highlighted the numbers that are really important. I just wanted to drive home the fact that two of the factors that lead up to the maximum allowable tax levy calculation are really out of our control. One of those is called a tax-based growth factor, which is assigned to us by the state based on our region. And it just basically says, what is the state of your economy locally to our district. And then the second one is the allowable levy growth factor. These are both inflationary factors. The allowable levy growth factor is either 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. So right now, 2% is less than the rate of inflation. So they're saying that 2% you can use as a calculation to kind of increase your tax levy. The only other portion that's kind of important is the capital exclusions. So any local share for capital projects the district incurs, you're allowed to increase your tax levy by that amount because they don't consider that part of the general fund operating expense, right? It's debt service that the voters have authorized, and it's a result of the building aid and the debt service not matching. So there's a little local share. So we're calculating that to be for next year about $355,000. So again, that allows you to increase your base tax growth to be a little bit higher. So what that boils down to is the fact that we could increase our 26-27, for our 26-27 tax levy, we can increase it $662,000 or 3.19%. Certainly not saying that we have to do that. That's just for the purpose of this presentation, that's the absolute maximum. It could be certainly less than that, 2% or less than that. But that's something that we'll talk about as we go through the budget presentations. Just to give you a little history, if we, this is the tax levy and the percentage increase over a 13-year period. It just averages that out. So you can see a 3-year average, taking into consideration a 3.19% increase for 26-27 in the tax levy. It's about a 2.6% increase on average, and then 1.9, etc. You can see the amounts there as well. It's just a good kind of historical chart on the tax levy. So in local revenue, as I mentioned, probably the biggest change comes in the form of, we did have several pilots, about $160,000 worth of pilots fall off. We had two separate agreements, one for $100,000 and one for, I think, $35,000 or $40,000. And then just adjustments to the other pilots agreements, because they have schedules. That resulted in the $160,000 decrease in pilot funding. Really everything else is relatively stable. Utility tax, again, that's been adjusted just based on historical figures. I'm not going to go into a deep dive on utility tax, but it's certainly, we're looking at prior years to project subsequent years. So again, overall, a slight decrease in all of the other local revenue sources. And again, appropriated fund balance, already talked about this, but we're budgeting to appropriate $2.5 million in fund balance, and then $50,000 for our unemployment reserve, and $1.1 million from our reserve for retirement. That matches exactly the total appropriations for our ERS, employee contributions. So expenditures. So here's some of our big budget drivers on the expense side. Yeah, and so health insurance. The district participates in the Genesee Area Healthcare Plan, which is a consortium of school districts, and it's pooled financing, I guess you could call it. We are what's called a minimum premium consortium, which means we pay what claims we incur without being fully insured. We are called a minimum premium. And so what we have seen this year is an exorbitant increase in the total cost of claims. And that is coupled with an increased number of high-cost claimants, which is driving the consortium to basically drain its fund balance. So we have been living off of fund balance each month to pay the bill as it comes through. And so as a result of that, in order for us to stay solvent, we're looking at an increase of approximately 30% in health insurance costs. That's rates across the board. So regardless of plan, that's PPO, that's D2, that's even the high deductible plan. So that's a significant impact in our budget. It's about close to $2 million, as you can see there, year to year, just in current employee health insurance costs for the district. So that's one of the big budget drivers. Mr. Smith and several of the leadership team met with building principal. I'm sorry, did anyone have questions on that? No. Okay. So Mr. Smith and the leadership team met with building principals at each building and put together basically a list of their needs in regards to staffing. And so these were included in this draft of the budget. Obviously, those can be revisited as we go down the path of budget adoption. But again, here's the listing that we kind of gleaned from all those meetings. So those are included in this budget as it stands right now. The third budget driver, which we'll talk about, and Mr. Smith will probably talk about in his update as well, is the Genesee Valley BOCES capital project. So BOCES is looking at doing approximately a $42 million capital project. That project has to be, the cost of that project has to be distributed to all school districts, component districts. There's 22 component districts in Genesee Valley BOCES, and Batavia is the largest. So they divvy up the share of that cost by Rwanda. We have the largest Rwanda, so we're looking at approximately a $4.5 million.
Rwanda is what?
Rwanda is the calculated rated, weighted average daily attendance. Resident weighted average daily attendance. Sorry. So Batavia is the largest Rwanda because we're the largest school district in the 22 components. $4.5 million would be our total cost for this project, and it would be spread over the course of 4 years. The district can receive aid on that, so we can receive BOCES aid on that. So and
It doesn't seem.
So you're gonna give them $4 million and just to get 8 on it?
well, no, they would use that cash to obviously fund their project. So the other option, there's 2 options. That's called the cash portion, or in which the district would enter into an intermunicipal agreement with all other 22 component districts, and districts agree to pay this amount of money over the course of 4 years. So it would be.
It has to be unanimous.
Correct, yeah, for the IMA, correct. The other option, which my father tells me about, because he was in it when the last time it happened, was they did a DASNY. BOCES can issue a bond, a long-term financing through the Dormitory Authority of the state of New York, we call DASNY. And then they can basically bill the district a portion of the Rwanda all over the course of the debt. So it might be 20 years. Instead of 4 years, we're looking at 20 years. The only thing about that is that all districts would incur an additional financing fees and interest as a result of that. So
4 years to 20 years, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. So those are really the 2 options. I know BOCES representatives have been in contact, and we've been to a meeting about it. So
this is assuming there's a couple options. I'll talk about it in my presentation later on, but what Andy has done, he's built in that cost in this year's or in next year's budget. If by some chance the project is delayed or not voted on, that money could be taken out of this year's budget, but that's all dependent on what BOCES has to do. Right now, we're planning on a vote in the spring. By vote, I mean the boards, 22 districts, and then the public has to vote as well, as Kevin explained back in October. So, we have incorporated our share of it in this budget, assuming that the project goes through. That's one option we have.
Both on the expense and the revenue side, which is one of the drivers of the increase in BOCES aid. The interesting thing about this is that you receive the aid in the same year you expense to BOCES, which is great because you're really only on the hook for the local share of the difference. All right, and then finally, last but not least, we have made provisions within the appropriation side of the budget in regards to collective bargaining negotiations. We do have 2 contracts for negotiating, the teachers and the clerical, and we have made assumptions for next year next year's budgeted appropriations for the settlement of those two contracts. What's not on here is we still have to adjust the interfund transfer for the preschool program. So I know we've talked about that before. There might be an addition to the interfund transfer based on the general funds funding of that preschool program. So the general support, these are the administrative components of the district's budget, including operations and maintenance, central office, central storeroom. This is where our utility costs are. But I wanted to highlight, because pretty much everything total-wise is, minor increases here and there, minor decreases, minor adjustments, some small amounts. But the two larger portions, I'm sorry, Chaz, I got to
Can you move Chaz back up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go. The larger portions right here, okay? And we can talk about those. The first being the central data processing. So in past budgets, what I've noticed is that the district was budgeting a lot of its central data processing in 2630-490, which is educational technology. How we're billed by BCSD is we're billed based on this, central data processing. And that's like our connection, all of our infrastructure, all of our support staff through EduTech, all of those were coded to 2630. We're pulling those out of 2630 and putting them into central data processing. Although that looks like a large number, that was actually budgeted in 2630, and you'll see a significant decrease in the 2630 amount. Okay, so that is just us shifting appropriations from a 2630-490 code to a 1680-490 code, where it really is billed to us through BCSD buy. Okay,
So it's a wash.
it's a wash. You'll see a large decrease in 2630, correct? And then, but the second highlight is the BCSD administrative costs. This is the cost of that capital project. We anticipate that to be between $1.6 million increase in year to year. So again, we do see the estimated offset revenue for BCSD, but this is also subject to change because there may be some reduction in the overall scope of that project, Jason, if I was.
Correct.
Yeah, there might be some adjustment as well. So again, this number is going to be adjusted as we go through the budget process. I wanted to make sure that.
It's in there now.
I wanted to make sure to get it in here now. If we need to adjust it or remove it, we can certainly do so at a later date. Transportation again. We do see about a $200,000 increase in year to year for transportation. 5.5% increase, that equals 5.5%. A lot of that is just based on the overall contractual costs. So we have rates that were defined in our contract. I literally take those rates for the 26-27 school year and apply them to our current runs. They're divvied up by hours, however many hours those runs go on. And then I just move it forward. So again, this is based on our actual contract and our rates that we have. But again, right around a $200,000 increase. Again, the district receives about 90% of this back in transportation aid the following school year. Debt and interfund transfers. So the district's debt service is the total amount that we pay for our outstanding bonds and bans that we have for capital projects. And again, these figures are given to us based on our municipal advisor, and we budget for the anticipated filing of final cost reports, and so we'll have additional debt service. So again, this is just related to our ongoing capital project and also the 2020 Vision capital project. So these are all of our debt payments added up. So again, principal and interest, we pay on those annually, and we have a debt service schedule that we follow. Interfund transfer, you'll see a reduction in the interfund transfer. If you recall last year, we budgeted for an increase of $460,000 for our interfund transfer. We used that this year to transfer it to our capital project and use cash on hand instead of having to borrow it. That does a couple things for us. One is it reduces the overall amount that we have to borrow for that project, which we save interest on. The second is it stabilizes our tax cap. So it allows us to say that $460,000 is local share, and it allows us to kind of increase our tax levy as a result of that local share. So it's really a mechanism to try and flatten out any of those subtle or those large increases or decreases in our tax cap. We don't foresee having to do that right now. The only thing I'm going to say about the interfund transfer to capital is that we went to a meeting Friday, and the accounting for the BOCES capital project, instead of it falling in that 1680 code that we saw in general support, we might be able to budget for it in the interfund transfer code and actually have the project run like a capital project that we have. So that's something that we're looking for. I don't want to, it's in the weeds with the accounting, but I just want you to know that there might be a change after we work with our auditors on how to best account for that capital project moving forward. Okay. So overall, this is the overall budget summary. We're showing a picture of total expense and total revenue. So as you can see right now, I'm showing an expenditure increase of about 11.19% year to year. Certainly something that we'll probably need to look at closely as we go through the budget process and hopefully refine. That's a little over $7 million increase year to year. We're looking at only an increase of about 5.18% on the revenue side, or about $3.2 million. So 7.08 minus 3.28 is 3.8. So right now we have a gap in our budget between revenue and expenditure of about $3.8 million. So that's something that the administrative team will certainly look at closely, and the board as we go through the budget development process to see if we can, how we can revise that down. And then finally, just a little budget summary again. The total amount of the current draft of the budget, $70.3 million, almost $70.4 million. That's a budget increase of 7.08, and it's 11.19% overall increase. Tax levy would be increased by 3.19%, or $21.4 million. Again, that's at our allowable tax levy increase, but it can go down as we go through the budget development process. If we exceed it, it would have to be based on a supermajority vote. Any questions? All right.
Should we come meet Ches? Did he have questions?
Ches, you have any questions?
I'm good. I see that it's not a big increase. So.
Yeah, yeah.
So the question I'd like the board to at least think about, maybe not answer now, is one of the factors we have some control over is the, Andy, can you just go back a slide?
Oh, yeah.
To the tax levy, no, that one. Yeah.
This one, yeah.
The bottom number on the right, the 3.19%, the question for the board, I'd like them to think about, like you think about now or later, is, what's your comfort level? We can go to the cap. We've gone to the cap before. It hasn't been this high. I like to look at the budget in terms of what levers you want to pull. So there's various levers. We can keep the levy at 3.19%. We can look at some of those new titles that Andy shared that the principals have asked for. We can look at those. And or we can look at how we want to allocate reserves. I'll caution the board, I did caution you a couple of years ago to be careful that we don't want to rely on our savings account to pay our electric bill type thing. We don't really have a lot of control over the rest of the revenue except for the tax levy increase or looking at changing the amount of the reserve. So we can go back and look at the expense side. The BOCES project is still somewhat up in the air, I'd say.
Yeah, so, timing wise, yeah, so, certainly.
Again, we have time, but just kind of between now and our next meeting, think about the tax levy increase. Like I said, 3.19 is at the cap. Doesn't mean we have to do it. So that's my talking point for you.
I actually do have a question.
Sure.
Hey, do we have the numbers on how the effect for the BOCES for if we do the 4 years or that 20-year
Yes.
difference?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have amortization schedules for both.
Okay, yeah, I'll look at it.
Yep, yeah, we can distribute those.
All right.
Yep. Absolutely.
So obviously, I think my initial thought it is to look at that tax levy increase. I mean, I think the 3.19, yes, it's the cap, but I'd like to see that reduced. One way or another, what we can have before February, some sort of ideas, suggestions you guys have. There's a lot of uncontrollables, that 1.9 million in insurance costs, and we've talked previously on how there in the past was cheaper plans for the district, but they've kind of all met now, and everything's expensive with the health insurance. So there's some that are out of our controls. I think by February we should have a better idea on some of these contracts that we're negotiating now as well, which could also help make some necessary adjustments if we need to with some of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Anyone else have any?
I'll just make one other comment, and if you could just go back, sorry, if you could just go back to the staffing slide. Within that staffing, yep, so within that staffing slide, I've kind of tasked each principal with prioritizing. Obviously, this is their wish list. Within the wish list, I don't have it all memorized right now, but I have notes on it. Within the wish list, they have identified priority items. So I can go back to them. You know, for example, with the music teachers, working with Melzy Kason, she's done schedules for 2 teachers, she's done schedules for 1 new teacher, so there is some flexibility there. And like I know at the, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know one of the principals has identified the school psychologist as a need. So within that list, we have some priorities that we can go back to the drawing board with as well.
All right. Okay.
Well, it just appears to me in this staffing requirements is, we had a pretty comprehensive report from Maureen Notaro about all of the services that the county provides and how to help our students socially, emotionally, however. So why would we even consider additional counselors and things like that when we could use those services to help our students?
Right.
And not to say that that we don't have issues that could be taken care of well in the school if we had a new counselor or whatever, but you know, I just don't see at this time, with the cost of living, as we all know, going up and whatever, 3.19 is big.
Those resources are there, we should utilize them.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I understand that there's a wish list, there always is one, and, but I just think that we don't have a super rich community, and 3.19% would be asking too much for that. So, you know, however we can reduce it, however it is, in whatever line items we have, I think we need to look at those pretty severely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Andy.
Yep.
I have a clicker thing.
Oh,
I'm gonna skip ahead of you here for, unfortunately, Eli couldn't be with us today because of the rescheduled meeting, he got double booked. So he did send over his report that Mrs. Anderson's gonna review for us, she volunteered to.
Voluntold.
Voluntold. All right, so Eli says this: Anastasia rehearsals have begun for the musical. It's coming up in March. Mr. Batavia, which is one of my favorite things in the high school, initial production has begun. Set for show day of March 27th, so definitely put that on your calendars. It's a great fundraiser for the community. Orchestra concert. The high school orchestra has their first concert on February 5th. Chorale, the high school chorale has a concert also on February 5th. Winter Guard, February 7th, will host Batavia Fantastic Visions. It's a home show competition that is open to the public.
Sports, since the last meeting, the annual boys and girls basketball team tournaments were held. The varsity boys basketball team won the Batavia Lions Club tournament, defeating Notre Dame. Senior Gavin White was the tournament MVP. The varsity girls basketball team lost in the championship game of the Rotary tournament to Elba. Batavia ND Hockey is hosting a senior night tonight against the WFL Panthers. And finally, coming up on January 31st, both boys and girls JV and varsity basketball will be participating in the Hoops for Hope Night, supporting the Michael Napoleon Memorial Foundation. I did see that they're still looking for donations for that. And JV games will be held at the Batavia High School, while the varsity games will be at GCC. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Next up, presentation of reports. We have Mr. Smith for our superintendent's report.
Thanks. So I want to first recognize Saturday I went to the legislative breakfast at Letchworth, and I was very proud to have our school recognized for our peer mediation program, mostly at the middle school. The high school is starting one too, but we were recognized this year. I have a couple plaques here and certificates I can pass around. Picture there is the school board's director, Patrick Burke. Next to him is Melissa Antonor and Kristen Gomez. Megan Krein also had an instrumental role in the process as well. She wasn't able to make it because of the weather, and Dr. Corey also assisted in the process as well. So I actually sat in on it. I talked to some students last month who are the trainers, and they really gained a lot out of it. To date, we've done 7 mediations, which is a lot. Some of the other schools who have recognized, who have received this award have not done any yet. So we've done 7. And I've used it in conversation with families as well to encourage them to participate, so we're very proud to have that. Also at that breakfast, some various points were made to our lawmakers, some advocacy points to share that with the board, but the highlights we're looking at federal cost shifts, if there's concerns with Title I, looking at K-12 tax credit, possibly diverting funds from public schools. Student services are always a concern with SNAP and Medicaid. Still, a couple years ago, the governor commissioned what was known as the Rockefeller Report. Not all of those reforms have been implemented, which has been frustrating to our districts. And then still, some of the new mandates lack funding. The New York Inspires, the busing issues. So we shared those with the lawmakers on Saturday morning, and I shared with the board a copy of the advocacy points. Very excited for Friday. We want to welcome Dr. Anthony Muhammad as our keynote speaker. Our staff has seen him at least 2 or 3 times at various conferences, and he is well known. We're excited to have him come out, invite the board to stop it and hear this as well. He really speaks on school culture. I'm just going to play a little portion of his comments. He has a great story. I'm just going to play it if it works. Yes.
We develop terminology to be accurate. What is something that's toxic? Well, what would make something toxic? There was a toxic field near this convention center. If you wanted to plant a tree in that toxic field, what would happen to that tree? It would die. If you wanted to plant an ear of corn, it would die. Well, what would a toxic school culture look like? A place where educational reforms find their graveyard. That no matter how good the idea is, the environment becomes so toxic that even the best idea never gets fully implemented. And that's why he used that terminology. What is a toxic culture? It's a place where educators believe that student success is based solely upon a student's level of concern, attentiveness, prior knowledge, and willingness to comply with the demands of school. And they pass that on to others in overt and covert ways. Let's stop. Again, we have a belief system being evoked. But in a toxic culture, does it appear, and I want to ask you a question, I want you to think about this. If you read that first part of this definition, does it seem as if learning is impossible in a toxic culture?
So he's really going to challenge our staff in a positive way. Like I said, several of our staff has heard him already. Dr. Corey has been instrumental in getting him to come here, so we're excited to welcome him here on Friday. Anything else you want to add, Mom?
No, I just think that he'll do a really nice job helping to, he's going to be meeting with every school's guiding coalition team for the PLC work, and I think he'll help them to help the schools to move forward in a positive way.
So if you're able to join us Friday morning at 8 o'clock,
o'clock. That'll be our keynote address, and again, several of our staff have heard him before at various conferences, and he's been well received. He's also going to challenge us as well, so I'm looking forward to that. Preschool updates, I want to keep you updated on this. Molly met with the staff on Friday afternoon. Since we last met, we have increased the enrollment by 7 as of this year, and we are going to make some changes this year to increase the amount of half-days. What we have found out is that half-days are bringing increased revenue to the district, and as Andy mentioned, we're looking at making adjustments for that program for next year as well. But the good news is right now we have increased it by 7, possibly 9. We're still waiting on a couple more students, but tell me what else I missed.
Well, the reason to change and have more half-days is we're finding that many kids that they've had to turn away have services needed for a half-day program. And we schedule that most of our programs are full days, but by changing to have some half-days, one, we'll be able to take in more kids, but it also gives us a lot more revenue. A full-day student gets about $36,000. A half-day student gets 20, so if you have 2 half-days, it's 40, so it's even more money.
We're doing some, we have more work to do. We are looking at staffing, but we have made some pretty good mid-year adjustments as well, so I want to recognize the team for that. As Maureen said earlier, one of my favorite parts of going over to Jackson to greet our winter athletes. I was here for the basketball team. I think the track team is coming next. I've done it for the football team. It's really wonderful to see our oldest kids, and they're just the seniors, interact with our youngest kids. I think the seniors honestly get more out of it than the kids do. It's really quite powerful to see them interact. And Maureen's right, they do think of our athletes as like superstars because they're so little and the kid is so big. So it's a neat thing that we've started, and it's going well. We are seeking nominations for this year or for next year's Musicians of Note nominees. So if you could spread the word on that, we had a press release on that. And then finally, the BCSD capital project. This is more the same what Andy has talked about. Just kind of a review. The project is about $43 million. There's our estimated payment over 4 years. And he talked about the DASME requirements or the IMA, the intermunicipal agreement. There is going to be a public vote on it, but the first payment will be due this year, assuming that the project is expensed this year. So we have it budgeted. Now, we had a meeting on it just this past Friday, so it's still kind of fresh. And Kevin McDonald and our staff are still working through some of those details, but we should have more information for you, definitely by the budget season in April or May. And finally, it has not been an easy winter, so I want to recognize our custodial crew and buildings and grounds crew. With mounds of snow out there. Sunday night, I got a text from Chad and Andy, want to know if I'm going to keep school open, because I am. They're going to be there at 3 in the morning. So school was closed, obviously, because of the weather. So I want to recognize Chad and his crew at all 5 of our buildings and the library for the great job they do in keeping our sidewalks and parking lots safe for our students. And you can see the mounds of snow. I can't even see in my window right now. So I want to recognize them. And thanks to our family and staff for their flexibility. Hopefully this will be the last of it, but it's always fun calling that first day. By the time you get the 3rd day, okay, here we go again. And here's some upcoming dates for the board. We have our J.K. Steen event coming up as you're away again. The J.K. Steen event is on January 29th, Thursday, over at John Kennedy. Dr. Muhammad is here on Friday. Hockey senior night has already happened tonight, I heard you say, so that we have to update that. And we've had to reschedule numerous concerts, so honestly, I lost track. So I think we have a concert this Thursday night that's been rescheduled twice now because of the weather, and our chorus concert is next week as well, and the musical rehearsals are well underway. So any questions?
I have a question about the school cancellations.
Yeah.
I know it's built into the contract, into the calendar that we have so many snow days, right?
Mm-hmm.
When a state of emergency is declared, is there anything from the state that we can get?
Yes.
Money-wise?
Not money-wise. So several reasons to have a state of emergency. Okay, so one is so they can mobilize resources.
Yeah.
We can't get anything money-wise. However, if we run out of days,
yeah,
and we maximize all the extra days, so we have a state of emergency on Monday. If we happen to run out of days and we've exhausted all of our possible days, we can then basically, we're absolved of that emergency day on Monday because of the state emergency. So the day wouldn't count. So the day we close on Monday, it was a state emergency. If we, once we exhaust our days, and if we're out of days, we have to petition the state, we have to work with our attorney, there's a form. We did it last year, didn't we?
Yeah, it's
a lot of paperwork, and we did it last year. And basically, we're absolved of the day on Monday, this past Monday, if we have exhausted all other resources, and we have the state emergency to even go with it.
So what does it mean by absolved? Meaning that?
It doesn't count. In other words, it will be okay to fall below the minimum number of days.
So it wouldn't be like you would?
We wouldn't.
So we've taken 3, that third one wouldn't count.
Right, but if you use up all 5 days, then the state of emergency one wouldn't count.
Right.
Does that mean you add more time that teachers have to be, or staff has to be in school?
No. So one of our options on the calendar is we have to look at drawing back the Easter break days. That's one of the options we have. They will want us to at least look at that. We didn't have to do that last year. So if we fall below the magic number and we're not absolved of that, then we are penalized for that with a reduction in state aid. By capitalizing on the emergency days, if we have to, that would stop that penalty from being incurred. Am I explaining that well enough? Makes sense? Yeah. Okay.
So last year, we didn't make our staff come to school on a day around Memorial Day.
In my time here, we've only had to change the calendar once, and we took away a conference day that was scheduled later in the year.
We also have room at the end of the year too.
Yeah,
So.
that's what, I guess that's what I assumed happened, is that you play with the end of the
There's,
school
yeah, there's
year.
room, there's contractual language around that, Tony can speak to that well. So, so there's contractual language around that. I don't have it committed to memory, I always have to check every year. But if we exceed it, then they become half days, not half days, so there's language around that.
Okay.
Okay, good question. That's all I got.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot of presentations.
It was.
All right. Next up, we have consent grouping. We need a motion to approve the grouping of consent items G through L.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Anderson. Do I have a second? Second by Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
You can skip that.
He speaks.
I just did that, right? I skipped it. And,
Okay.
skip, I just did that.
All right. And it's just old business, right? All right, new business. We have our board goal discussion, review and approval. We have that the, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the 2026-27 Board of Education goals. The board, number one, the Board of Education will ensure the consistent implementation of high-quality professional learning communities by supporting professional learning, monitoring student performance data, and holding the district accountable for continuous improvement in academic achievement. And the second goal is the Board of Education will actively promote community engagement by collectively attending at least one school and/or community events per month, and by reflecting on feedback and observations to inform board decision-making. Do I have a motion to approve this year's board goals?
So moved.
Any discussion? First, motion by Jen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schmidt. Any discussion? No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
I think that was an aye from Ches too.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have updated regulation 7521.R student with allergies and/or anaphylaxis. We need a motion to approve this. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mrs. Bennett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schmidt. Any discussion?
how does this change from what we've had previously? Or is this?
It's like it's
I
a
guess
Senate
it's-
bill. There's a little paragraph underneath there that kind of explains it. To include epinephrine nasal sprays instead of auto injector.
But okay.
It's just an addition.
So it's just the addition of the nasals as opposed to just an EpiPen.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I.
The nurse in you came out?
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is an updated regulation 7513R. That is guidelines for administering medication in schools. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
By Mrs. Anderson, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Benedict, any discussion? Jen?
No, I think I'm okay on this one.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We do have our other reports on our school site. Please take a look at those. Board member comments or other reports. Any board members have any updates, anything they want to discuss?
I was over at the middle school today. Our church did a little outreach, and we were in the faculty room, just handing out like popcorn. We had a popcorn maker in there and candy and all kinds of things just to give away. And I was there for about an hour, and just to get a feel for what's going on, like with the faculty kind of behind the scenes, it was really neat to see them just connecting, and there was just like an upbeat vibe in the room, you know, seeing people sitting and eating with each other. Also knowing different people in the community and the teachers that were there talking with them and everything. It really was a neat experience just to kind of be like a fly on the wall to kind of see what's happening. It was really great. So just thought
That's
it was
awesome. I think Friday's speaker again talks really about the culture of our district and things. So if anyone can make it on Friday, I think it would be great for us to listen in as well to get an idea of it. Any other board members? All right.
Genesee Valley School Board got postponed because of the snow.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are call for executive session. The motion to move to executive session to discuss matters relating to the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation for matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. And I believe we will not be coming back to public session after as well. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? By Jen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
We'll give Chaz on that one. And also, Antonio, thanks for filling in behind the scenes for us tonight. Filling in for Nick, we appreciate it. It was a long one, so we appreciate your extra time. And again, Andy, for your report. Just one last congratulations to the early graduates that we had at the beginning of the meeting. That was nice to see them as well. So, all in favor to go into executive session?
Aye.
All right.